Good afternoon, everyone. I know that by now you may all be a bit tired, not only because it's relatively late in our program today, but tired generally of our new virtual life. We're watching a virtual seminar. Some of us have completed our last classes at law school with virtual classes. We may have had virtual examinations. And of course, we've had virtual admission to practice ceremonies. Now, many of you may be considered to be young. If not in age, certainly you're all young lawyers having just been called and now entering the profession. When you're young, people generally assume or expect a certain level of technological competence. Senior attorneys may say that this generation knows all about Instagram and TikTok and may therefore expect you to be automatically comfortable with conducting court online. Unfortunately, most of our legal education programs have not prepared us well for legal technology. So Vincent has just given us some tips and tricks to navigate the world of electronic filings. Now I want to talk a little bit about electronic hearings. Some of these things may seem obvious, but others you may not have really thought about. Like everything else, planning and preparation are essential to be able to effectively conduct a virtual court hearing. Having said that, make sure that you have acquainted yourselves with the relevant practice directions. There is the practice direction on hearings by electronic means dated March 27, 2020. The judiciary has also issued a practice guide for electronic hearings on the 21st of April 2020. These documents are available on the judiciary's website at ttlawcourts.org and also on the Law Association website at lawassociationtt.com. These need to be read in conjunction with the latest practice direction in relation to court operations during the COVID-19 pandemic. The latest of these is effective December 1st, 2020, and this is updated periodically. The Law Association sends any updates to members by email, and of course, you can also refer to the respective websites. Next, we need to consider what hardware and software will be required for the hearing. The judiciary uses Microsoft Teams for all hearings of the Court of Appeal, High Court, Family Court, and Magistrates Courts. Now, Teams behaves differently depending on the type of device and operating system that you're using. On a PC running Windows 10, the meeting will open directly in a browser window without you having to download anything else. On a Mac, however, Teams will not open in the browser, so you will have to actually download Microsoft Teams onto your system to be able to participate. And if you're using a tablet or phone, you will need to download the Teams app on both Android or iOS devices. Now, during the pandemic, Amazon Fire tablets have become very popular, but there's no native support for Teams on the Amazon Fire devices. So it's important that you understand these software and device requirements, not only for your own participation, but also for your clients, especially if they'll be logging on with their own devices from another location. Also remember that other tribunals may use different platforms for hearings. The Equal Opportunity Tribunal, for example, also uses Teams, but the Industrial Court uses Zoom for some case management hearings. So what device are you going to use? Well, you will need a device that has a good camera and microphone, a processor that can handle video conferencing, and of course, a good and stable internet connection. Consider what is before the court, whether it is a case management conference, status hearing, arguing evidential objections for which you'll need to refer to documents, or a trial. If you will need to share electronic copies of filed documents on your screen, it's best to use a laptop or a desktop. But for a less complex hearing, you may be able to use a tablet or even a phone, as long as you're not likely to be interrupted by calls or notifications during the meeting. Modern laptops now have built-in cameras, but if you are unhappy with the quality of your built-in device, there are many options in terms of webcams that you can plug directly into your computer. The cameras on modern phones or tablets may even be better than that of your computer. Most people tend to refer to physical papers or files while conducting court. Ensure, therefore, that your computer or camera is at an appropriate distance to accommodate the papers on your table in front of you, but also close enough that you are clearly visible. Be mindful of what is behind you. Choose a solid, neutral wall if possible, and remove any clutter or personal items that may distract others. If using two screens, the webcam should be installed on the screen with the video feed. Look straight into the camera so that you appear as though you are face to face with others in the hearing. If you're using a tablet or a phone, make sure that it is mounted on a stand so that the camera is at eye level or slightly above eye level. Check the lighting to ensure that it does not limit visibility. Light from a window behind you might blind the camera, making you difficult to see. Ideally, position a lamp or sit facing a window where light is directly on your face. Placing a light behind the camera will help illuminate the area in front of the camera. Good audio quality is also essential for an effective online hearing. Like cameras, many modern devices come with built-in microphones, but while a built-in camera may work well for online court, this is not always the case with microphones. Headsets or AirPods are probably your best bet to minimize background noise, but this will only work if you are the only person in the room. A bidirectional external microphone may be a better choice if you have a client with you in your office, even if your computer or webcam also has a built-in mic. It's always advisable to mute your microphone when you are not speaking to minimize any interference. If you are sitting at a distance from your device, ensure that you have a wireless keyboard and mouse so that you can control the microphone or type in the chat if necessary. Now, while some attorneys prefer to have hard copy documents while conducting a virtual hearing, now that we are filing documents electronically, often voluminous documents, we may need to refer to soft copy documents during the hearing. Where possible, two screens are recommended for the hearing. One screen to view and participate in the hearing, and a second screen to view documents locally. A second device, such as a computer or tablet to view the documents, is another option. Of course, this means that you should organize and perhaps even load up your documents in advance so that you would not be fumbling trying to find them on your computer during the hearing. Consider how you will take notes throughout the hearing. For example, pen and paper or tablet and computer. Parties should not type on their keyboard while their microphone is unmuted, as the sound can be very distracting. Attorneys should consider a way to communicate with clients and co-counsel privately during the hearing, whether by email, text messages, or WhatsApp, in a manner that ensures confidentiality, is separate from communication channels with opposing parties, and allows counsel to keep a record of client instructions. Set ground rules in advance for this so that you're not distracted by unnecessary messages. Parties should avoid using the chat function of the video platform for such communications because they may be recorded or viewed by the judge or other participants in the hearing. Your name should appear as well as who you represent or whether you are counsel, litigant, or witness. This will ensure that throughout the hearing, the judge knows the role of each speaker. Remember to check your internet connection ahead of time from the location where you will participate in the remote hearing. Video and audio conferencing generally uses a substantial amount of bandwidth. So where possible, try to use a hardwired internet connection instead of Wi-Fi. If you must use Wi-Fi, make sure that you are close to the router or extender. Technology does not always cooperate and run smoothly. All participants in a remote hearing should prepare their computer, screens, microphone, camera, and phone ahead of time to ensure that they are functioning properly and are fully charged and or plugged in. Before the hearing, do a dry run, especially if your client is participating from a different location. Make sure everything is working properly and that you are happy with the video and audio quality, lighting, and camera placement. Make sure that you are early for the call so that you can run a similar test with the judicial support officer before the judge joins. Close all non-essential apps, especially anything that may be heavy on your processor or internet bandwidth during the hearing. You may also want to consider installing the relevant software on a secondary device, such as a smartphone or tablet, as a backup in the event of a crash on your primary device, or if the connection to the hearing is lost, as your mobile data may work even if your Wi-Fi fails. Observe all normal court etiquette and procedures in the virtual courtroom environment. Even though you will be seated throughout the hearing, unless directed otherwise by the judge, you would still wear appropriate clothing from the waist down in the event that you are required to suddenly stand up. And whether you're speaking or not, if your video is on, be wary of unwanted facial expressions. When speaking, remember to look directly at the webcam, not at the screen. However, when making submissions or asking questions, do your best to also see the judge to understand their body language and nonverbal cues. Be mindful of any lag in the audio to ensure that a participant is finished speaking before you begin to speak. Refrain from speaking over other participants to assist with the court's transcription. And if you need a moment, the judge is more than likely to be understanding and forgiving. I hope that these tips have been helpful. Virtual hearings are here to stay. We would always want to be efficient and effective as we conduct our virtual hearings. So good luck, and I'll be happy to take a few questions.